Okay, so today we will start another lesson in grammar. Our topic for today is transitive and intransitive verbs. Before we go ahead with the topic of transitive and intransitive verbs, let us first recall what a verb is. We know that a verb is a word that describes an action or state of being. An action is any work that we do, and the state of being is actually the state of existence. Let us look at the topmost example. The kids were dancing in the party last night. When we look at this sentence, what is the action? What were the kids doing? You get the answer that the kids were dancing, isn't it? So the words were dancing is the verb here because it shows the action of the words done by the kids. So here the verb tells us what a person or thing does. A verb can also tell what is done to a person or a thing. Look at this example. The flower vase is broken. Here it is not telling what the flower vase is doing, but it tells what is done to the flower vase. So verbs can also tell us what a person or a thing is. For example, this sentence, Sanya is a smart girl. In this sentence, we are not told what Sanya is doing. We are not talking of any action here, but rather, what is Sanya or who is Sanya? The word is the verb. This verb is not describing an action, but it is telling us of a state of being or state of existence of Sanya, that she is a smart girl. So what do we understand about verbs? We understand that a verb tells us what a person or thing does, what is being done to a person or thing, or what a person or a thing is. Now look at these sentences. The first sentence, he kicked. Now if I ask you, does this sentence make any sense? It does make sense, but not complete sense. What does he kick? We do not know that. Similarly, in the second sentence, the teacher called. The teacher called whom? The teacher called what? So again, this sentence doesn't make sense, for we don't have answers to these questions. The last sentence, Aditi spoke. What did Aditi speak? What did she talk about? Again, we don't know the answer. So each of the sentences make sense, but they do not make complete sense. Now the sentences that we discussed earlier did not make complete sense. But if we add some word after it, then it will make complete sense. For example, if I add the words the football to this sentence, the sentence makes complete sense. He kicked the football. And when I ask this question, what did he kick? I get the answer as he kicked the football. If you look at this sentence, the word he is the doer of the action. So the word he is the subject. The word kicked is the verb. And what did he kick? He kicked the football. The football is the object here. The object is the receiver of the action. Now when we come across an object where the action of the verb transfers directly to an object, then that verb is called a transitive verb. For example, in this sentence, the action is kicked, and who is experiencing the action of kicking? It is the football. So that action is being directly passed on to the subject or to the object. So these types of verbs where the action of the subject is directly passed on to the object is known as transitive verb. Let's look at the next example. The teacher called Ritu's parents. The teacher is the one who is doing the action in this sentence. So, the teacher is the subject. The word called is the verb. And the teacher called whom? The teacher called Ritu's parents. So, Ritu's parents becomes the object of the sentence. So, you can see here the verb is linking the subject and the object. The action of the subject is having an impact on the object. The doer of the action is the teacher, and the receiver of the action is Ritu's parents. Now, how to identify an object within a sentence? Now you must be wondering, why am I telling you to find out the object in a sentence? Because this is the easiest way to know whether the verb is a transitive verb or not. If the verb is transitive, then the sentence must contain an object. We just learned that the action of the subject has to be transferred to the object. So in order to do so, I can ask the question what or whom to the verb. Look at these sentences. He kicked the ball. He kicked what? The ball. The ball is the object of the sentence. The second sentence, the teacher called Ritu's parents. The teacher called whom? Ritu's parents. Ritu's parents becomes the object of the sentence. The last sentence, Aditi spoke the truth. Aditi spoke what? The truth. The truth is the object of the sentence. Now, even if we want to identify the subject of the sentence, we can ask the same question, that is what or whom, to the verb. For example, sentence 1, he kicked the ball. Who kicked the ball? We get the answer he. So he is the subject of the sentence. The second sentence, the teacher called Ritu's parents. Who called Ritu's parents? We get the answer the teacher. So the word the teacher is the subject of the sentence. The last sentence, Aditi spoke the truth. Who spoke the truth? We get the answer Aditi. So Aditi is the subject of the sentence. Now notice this, children, that in each of these sentences we see that the verbs connect the subject to the object. In the first sentence, the verb kicked connects the subject he to the object ball. In the second sentence, the verb called connects the subject the teacher to the object, that is Ritu's parents. In the last sentence, the verb spoke connects the subject Aditi to the object, that is the truth. So in this way we can see how the verbs act in such a way that it transports the action of the subject to the object. Therefore, a transitive verb denotes an action that passes over from the subject to an object. That is why they are called transitive verbs. The word transitive is derived from the word transition, which means to transfer, where the action gets transferred from a subject to an object. Intransitive verbs. As the name suggests, it's the opposite of transitive verbs. They denote an action that does not transfer from the subject to an object. One easy way to know whether the verb is a transitive or intransitive verb, it is to find the object of the sentence. If there is no object at all, then the verb is most likely to be an intransitive verb. Now look at this sentence. The children laughed loudly. Here the word laughed is the verb in the sentence. But do we have any object? We don't know. So let us ask the question, what or whom? Laughed what? Do you get an answer to this? No. Laughed whom? Now do you get an answer to it? No. That means the word loudly, which appears after the verb laughed, is not the object of the sentence. The word loudly only tells us how the children laugh. See children, not all the words that appear after the verb is the object that receives the action. We have to see in a sentence who or what is receiving the action. If no one is receiving the action, then that verb is not a transitive verb, but it is an intransitive verb. So that means here, in this case, we do not have any object. Therefore, this sentence, this verb in the sentence is an example of intransitive verb. Let's look at another example. The train stopped suddenly. Now, in this sentence, the word stopped is the verb. Do we have any objects? We don't know. So, let's ask the questions what and whom. The train stopped what? We get an answer? No. The train stopped whom? Do we get an answer? No. So here the word suddenly is just a word that tells us how the train stopped. So this verb stopped is again an example of intransitive verb. Let's recall what we learned about transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive verbs denote an action that passes over from a subject to an object. Intransitive verbs denote an action that does not pass over from a subject to an object. To identify an object, ask the question what or whom to the verb. Children, for your homework, kindly complete the following exercise. Pick out the verbs in the following sentences and state whether it is a transitive or intransitive verb. There are in all 10 sentences that you have to solve. You can write them on your file sheet paper or in the notebook that you have made. Kindly complete them and preserve them for your learning. With this, we come to the end of the topic of transitive and intransitive verbs. This was all for now. Thank you and take care.